All right, diving into something new today. Ever heard of the 40 servants?
Can't say that I have.
This whole system of magic and divination, it's got me seriously intrigued, and we're using Tommie Kelly's guidebook as our roadmap for this one.
Sounds like my kind of reading list. 40 servants sounds like you'd need a whole mansion for that many. What's the deal with this system?
Right. Not your average housekeepers, that's for sure. The way Kelly describes their creation is fascinating. It wasn't just him coming up with ideas. He felt like a conduit, like other forces were at play.
Okay, now that's interesting. Conduit for what, though?
He's careful not to call it straight up channeling, but it definitely had that vibe. And get that the whole system was supposedly activated on Halloween 2016 through this big ritual with the elements.
I mean,
I'm talking about setting the stage, right?
Halloween, rituals, elements. Okay, you've got my attention. But before we go full on magic circle here, let's back up for a second. How does divination fit into all of this?
All right, let's ground ourselves a bit first. So Kelly defines divination as a way to get insight into a question or situation through ritual. It's not just about predicting the future, it's about understanding the past and present, and maybe seeing how those threads might weave into the future.
It's funny how we always seem to come back to the future, even when we're talking about the past and present.
Totally. Like, have you ever had that thing where you think of someone for the first time in ages and then they call you out of the blue? Is that divination, coincidence, or just the universe messing with us?
Right. It's that feeling of synchronicity that makes divination so fascinating. Even if it's not always accurate, it can reveal these weird connections and patterns we might have missed otherwise.
Exactly. It's like shining a light on those hidden pathways.
It's less about fortune telling and more about understanding the currents we're riding in the present, maybe getting a glimpse of where they might take us.
Which brings us to the magic part of this whole system. And we've got some heavy hitters weighing in on this one. Aleister Crowley, Donald Michael Craig, Alan Chapman. It's like a crash course in magical theory.
Okay, love it when we bring in the big guns. But before we get lost in the theoretical weeds here, can you give me the Chaos Magic 101 version? That's the system that these 40 servants seem to be rooted in, right?
Exactly. And the thing about Chaos Magic is that it's all about what works. Forget the dogma and rigid rules. If it gets results, it's fair game.
Right. It's like that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But in this case, if it is broke, Chaos Magic encourages you to experiment until you find a way to fix it.
Totally. It's all about personal exploration and finding what resonates with you. Which brings us to the stars of the show.
Yeah.
The 40 servants themselves. So these servants are like specialized magical assistants.
Like having a whole team of magical experts on call.
Right.
That's handy.
But here's the really interesting part. They're powered by our attention and belief. The more we work with a particular servant, the stronger they become.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you believe in their power, the more powerful they become. That makes sense in a way. It's like anything else, the more you use it, the stronger it gets. But how do we actually connect with these servants? Do they have, like, business cards?
That's where sigils come in. Each servant has its own unique sigil, which is basically a magical symbol that represents its energy.
Ah, so it's like a visual representation of their power, something you can focus on.
Exactly. It's like a logo that helps you tune into their frequency. So we've got these 40 servants, each with their own vibe and sigil. But how do we actually use them? That's the million-dollar question, right?
Right. Time to talk shop. Let's start with divination. Kelly suggests a 3-card spread. Past, present, future. You draw a card for each, tap into your intuition, and see what messages the servants have for you.
So it's like each card is a piece of a puzzle, and the servants are giving us clues to help us put it all together.
Exactly.
Right.
But don't be afraid to experiment with different spreads, different ways of interpreting the cards. The beauty of this system is that it encourages you to find what works best for you.
I love that. There's so much room for personal exploration. Now, what about using the servants for magic? How does that work?
Kelly outlines a few different methods. Offerings, novenas, invocation, binding, banishing. Let's say you're feeling stuck creatively. You could make an offering to the idea. Light a candle, meditate on their sigil, and ask for inspiration.
Ah, offerings. Always a good excuse to stock up on candles. But what about those other methods you mentioned? Binding and banishing, those sound pretty intense.
They can be. Binding is about attracting something to you. Good luck, creativity, maybe even love. Imagine like carrying the sigil around with you like a lucky charm. Banishing, on the other hand, is about getting rid of something. Negative thoughts, unwanted influences, that sort of thing. You might write the sigil on a piece of paper and burn it, visualizing those things disappearing along with the smoke.
Okay, so binding is like attracting. Banishing is like repelling. It's interesting how these practices can be used in such different ways, but it makes you wonder about the ethics of it all, right?
You're right to be cautious. Trying to control someone else with magic, especially without their consent, is a big no-no. Chaos magic is all about personal responsibility, and that includes respecting the free will of others.
Good to know we're not about to go full evil sorcerer here. Okay, so we've got the basics down, but you mentioned some specific servants earlier that really piqued my interest. The depleted, the carnal, and the guru. What's the story with those three?
Excellent choices. Each one offers a fascinating perspective on the human experience. Let's start with the depleted. This servant represents those moments when you hit rock bottom, when you feel completely drained, like you have nothing left to give.
Oof, that's relatable. We've all been there, right? Those moments when you just want to crawl under the covers and disappear.
Exactly. But here's the thing about the depleted. It's not just about wallowing in despair. It's about recognizing when something has run its course, when it's time to let go and allow for renewal.
It's like that idea of surrender, right? Sometimes you just have to let go of what's no longer serving you, even if it's painful, so you can create space for something new to emerge.
Precisely. And that ties into a core principle of chaos magic, recognizing and working with the cycles of creation and destruction. Just like in nature, sometimes things need to break down so that something new can grow.
That's a really powerful way to look at those challenging times. Instead of resisting them, we can embrace them as opportunities for growth and transformation.
Exactly. Now, speaking of embracing things, let's move on to the carnal. This servant is all about embracing pleasure, desire, that raw, instinctual energy that makes us human.
Okay, this one definitely piqued my interest. The carnal. Tell me more.
This servant reminds us that our desires are natural, even vital to our well-being. It's about being fully present in our bodies, enjoying the sensual world around us, and not feeling guilty or ashamed of those desires.
Yes, it's about owning our desires and expressing them in healthy, fulfilling ways.
Absolutely. But it's not just about indulging in every whim. It's about finding that balance between indulgence and discipline, knowing when to indulge those desires and when to rein them in.
It's about being responsible with our power and respecting the boundaries of ourselves and others. So it's not just about pleasure for pleasure's sake. It's about understanding and harnessing that energy in a way that aligns with our values.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that those desires, those carnal urges, are part of what makes us human.
Okay, so we've explored the depths of depletion and embraced our sensual side. That brings us to the guru. This servant seems to embody wisdom, guidance, and that journey of self-discovery.
The guru is a fascinating one. The servant isn't just about accumulating knowledge, it's about seeking out mentors, guides, those who can help us unlock our potential and navigate the complexities of life.
It's like that saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And it makes me think about all the different forms a guru can take. It could be a teacher, a friend, a book, even a challenging experience that forces us to grow.
Precisely. The key is to be open to those sources of wisdom, to recognize those opportunities for growth, and to have the courage to step outside of our comfort zones. After all, true growth often happens when we're challenged.
And when we're open to learning from those who have walked the path before us, it's about recognizing that we don't have to have all the answers, that it's okay to ask for help and guidance along the way.
Absolutely, and that can be a powerful lesson in and of itself. So we've covered 3 very different servants, each with their own unique energy and lessons to teach, but there are 37 others out there, each with their own story to tell.
Right. I'm curious to hear about more of these servants, especially the ones that deal with luck and manifestation. Those themes always seem to resonate with people.
I hear you. Luck and manifestation, those are definitely areas where people are always looking for a little extra help. Well, there are a couple of servants that come to mind that might be right up your alley.
All right, I'm all ears. Let's dive into the world of luck and manifestation and see what these 40 servants have to offer. All right, luck and manifestation, let's dive in. Which servants come to mind when you think about those things?
Well, when it comes to luck, the fortunate immediately springs to mind.
Oh, the fortunate, okay.
Think of those times when everything just seems to go your way, like the universe is conspiring in your favor. That's the fortunate in action.
It's like winning the cosmic lottery, but without the scratch-off ticket.
Exactly. But it's not just about like material wealth or external success. You know, it's about that feeling of ease, of being in the flow, of things working out effortlessly.
Yeah, it's like everything just clicks into place and you're riding that wave of good fortune.
Precisely. And the fortunate can help us tap into that energy more intentionally to recognize and appreciate those moments when life feels effortless, when we're aligned with our purpose, and things just seem to work out.
So it's about cultivating that sense of being in the right place at the right time, of attracting those fortunate circumstances. I like it. But what about when things aren't flowing so smoothly? When we're facing obstacles and need a little help to manifest our desires?
Well, for those moments, we have the fixer.
The fixer.
This servant is all about problem solving, about finding solutions and making things happen.
Ooh, sound like my kind of servant. Where do I get their number?
Hold on. There's a catch. The fixer always comes with a price.
Oh.
It might not be obvious at first, but there's always a trade-off, a consequence to consider.
Okay, so it's not just about getting what you want. It's about understanding the potential costs. Like that old saying, be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. The fixer asks us to weigh our desires carefully, to consider whether the solution is worth the potential sacrifice. Sometimes it might be wiser to walk away, to find a different path.
So it's about discernment, about making conscious choices and being willing to accept the consequences.
Precisely. It's about taking responsibility for our choices and understanding that there's no such thing as a free lunch, even in the magical realm.
Right, right. That's a powerful lesson. It reminds me of something you mentioned earlier. Chaos magic is about personal responsibility, about using these tools ethically and with awareness.
Absolutely. It's not about manipulating reality to get what we want. It's about working with the natural forces of the universe, with understanding and respect.
Speaking of powerful forces, there's one more servant I'm dying to hear about, the witch. That one just screams magic to me.
The witch is a fascinating one. It embodies that innate power we all possess, the ability to shape our reality through intention, ritual, and connection to something greater than ourselves.
It's like tapping into that primal magical energy that's always been there, just waiting to be awakened.
Exactly. And the witch reminds us that we don't need fancy tools or elaborate rituals to access that power. It's about cultivating our intuition, our connection to the natural world, and our own inner wisdom.
So it's about owning our power, embracing our inner witch, and recognizing that we have the ability to create magic in our lives.
Precisely. And that's a powerful message for anyone, whether they consider themselves a witch, a magician, or simply someone looking to live a more enchanted life.
That's a great note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of divination and chaos magic to the unique energies of some of these servants: the depleted, the carnal, the guru, the fortunate, the fixer, and the witch. And those are just a handful of the 40 servants waiting to be explored.
It's been a fascinating journey, and it's really just the tip of the iceberg. This system is full of so much depth and possibility. It's up to each individual to take what resonates with them and see where it leads.
Exactly. It's like we've opened the door to a whole new world, and now it's up to our listeners to step through and explore it for themselves. Who knows what kind of magic they'll discover along the way.